Shalom. Kol halal Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, to the Akim doing the work in truth and sincerity, as well as a few Akwat that listen and learn. This is Brother Shawar with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. And this lesson, is going to deal with, learning your fundamentals in the truth first. Learning the basics before you try and jump the gun. Because that's what a lot of Jake does. A lot of Jake will try and when they first come into the truth, will try and basically try and jump to a position where they're just not equipped for it, man. They're not fit for what they're trying to be. And this thing isn't about being the most highly touted, the most the highest rank you can get in the camp, being an apostle. It's not about that. Everybody, the Lord has everybody in their lot. Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, the fact that he brought you into the truth, that's really all you need, man. And you got to continue and endure to the end. But all you need, is to know it starts with knowing the truth. I'm not going to say that's all you need, because at the end of the day, you have to grow. But, it's not much more complicated than that. You don't have to, be an apostle. You don't have to be, an elder, so to speak. Naturally, these things may happen, but, it's about understanding the will of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai and just becoming a man of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. It's not about, the hierarchy, so to speak, man. The Lord has everybody in their lot, and we're all fighting for the same penny at the end of the day. And, Yahweh Ratazah, we are those men, the elect, we will get blessed accordingly. Because, understanding this thing that there's different offices, there's different positions, there's different measures of faith, there's different gifts. We're going to get all these, talk about all these, through some scripts, but understand, man, every man has his position. Every man has their role. There's prophets, there's teachers, there's supporters, the woman, there's believers. Also men who are believers, children as well. So it's not, everybody's not going to be, you don't come in this thing and automatically think that, okay, I'm going to work my way up to being an apostle. It doesn't work that way. Maybe you can strive, to be on the apostles' level, but understanding that hierarchy, man, and understanding that the Lord has you in a specific lot is what we got to embrace, man, because it's about becoming a man of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, first and foremost. So let's go to the book of Hebrews 5:12. It reads, for the time ye ought to be teachers, ye have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of the Most High, and become such as having need of milk and not of strong meat. So that milk is the basics of the scriptures, the basics of the truth, and the meat is like, it gets into the more complicated breakdowns, the more spiritual things, man, things that you start to understand more and more over time, and that you really have to study and learn, that much more to really grasp. And of course, the spirit has to be supping with you, from the get-go. But there's levels to this thing, man. So let's continue reading verse 14. Or verse 13. For everyone that useth milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe. So when you come into this thing, man, you learn the milk. That milk, it's basically a parable of, a baby when they're first born. They drink the milk of their mother's breast, and the reason they drink the milk is because their body isn't ready to consume, the meat, because the meat things of like meat are too hard on the stomach. They don't have teeth to chew it. So they start off with that milk, And then they go to what? They go to stronger things, but it might be more, mashed up, so they can digest it better. And then eventually they get teeth and they get older. Then they start eating, then they start getting to things like meat and harder foods. And that's how the process is in this truth. It takes time. It takes time. The Lord has every man in their lot. So this is how it goes, man. You don't come in this thing and try and jump the gun and jump the line to, a higher ranking elder or, anything like that. Verse 14, but strong meat belongeth to them that are of full age, even those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil. So, that the dark sayings, man, the complicated breakdowns of the scriptures, those things come later on, man. A lot of Jake come into the truth and they try to be too deep. They overthink a lot of things and try and, they basically just try and make the word more complicated than it already needs to be, because once the Spirit is supplements you, things aren't really that complicated. There's breakdowns that are, a little harder to understand than others. But once the Spirit is working with you, man, it's really not all that complicated. But it's a process. This thing is a process. So it's important to learn your fundamentals first, because the fundamentals of the truth is really all you need. You don't necessarily have to know. You should know, and you should strive to, like I said earlier, strive to be on the level of, in terms of knowledge as the apostles, because you're supposed to grow in this thing and you're supposed to, increase in knowledge. But understand that really the basics is what is kind of all we need, man. Because at the end of the day, it's not going to be these knowing every breakdown that's going to get you saved. It's not going to be being having a great title, like a chief high priest. It's not going to be any of these things. It's going to be having faith in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, and being sincere in your faith. Right? And all, of course, you like I said, man, you study, you strive to be, to learn the most. You strive for mastery. The scriptures tell us, basically to strive for mastery in the truth. But you got to understand that that's not what it's truly about, man. So when we go to 1 Peter, the 2nd chapter, in the 2nd verse, it reads, as newborn babes, desire the sincere milk of the word, that ye may grow thereby. Because the milk is the basics, man. It's that foundation. So understanding that milk, the fundamentals, is where everything grows from. That's the foundation. Basically, it's like, if you have a building, and you have to say, if you have a weak foundation, man, that building is not gonna stand no matter what, because the foundation is unstable. But if that foundation is strong, man, even if you build up and you mess up along the way, some pieces, some bricks fall off or whatever, you can still build upon that foundation, because it's strong. It's not, the whole building isn't gonna fall, so you can still complete the structure. But that foundation, if that foundation is weak, then it's all gonna crumble. And that's basically how it goes, man. Your foundation is very important. So these milk scriptures, knowing you're an Israelite, basically going through the curses to identify, who the Israelites are, knowing the 12 tribes, knowing the will of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, knowing the other nations, knowing the Lashon Kadash to a degree, the Paleo Hebrew, our language, knowing some prayers in the Hebrew, things of that sort, basics, man. Because the basics go a very long way. And then you build off of that. So let's go to Ephesians 4:7. It reads, but unto every one of us is given grace according to the measure of the gift of a Mashiach. So this is a gift, man. This, to be in this truth, is a gift given to us from Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai gave us this gift of this truth. And right now we're under grace. So, we're in the period where basically our righteousness is not, I don't want to say, it's not that it doesn't matter. Of course it matters, because we're trying to become, like Yahweh Shai, just to, as best as we can, even though it's in this world it's damn near impossible. But our righteousness is not what's going to get us saved. And that's where that grace comes in. So that's why these other camps talking about the law, keeping the law 100%, it makes no sense. But that's not, that's not the point of this lesson. But the point is the measure of faith and the measure of the gift, which is the truth that we've been given, is different for every man. So some brothers, like you have the apostles, man. The apostles, they've been set up through the Spirit to be the leaders of Israel today. They've been going 30 years plus in this thing, man. Longer than I've been alive, longer than a lot of brothers have been alive. They've forgotten more than most of us will learn. And because, we are in the last days. So maybe not most of us, but a lot of us, a lot of the newer brothers. So, you got to understand that it's just set up through the Most High. The Most High sets it up, And that's okay, man, because at the end of the day, we're all going to be rewarded accordingly. The fact that you're in the truth, that you know the truth, you're already on the right path, man, to salvation. You just got to endure unto the end and be sincere and have faith in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. But it's just going to be different measures of faith, man, different gifts. Some brothers are gifted in going into the history. Some brothers are gifted, with prophecy. Some brothers most brothers are balanced, meaning they can touch on everything. You want to be able to touch on everything, the whole word. And Ezekiel tells us, matter of fact, I'm just going to grab the precept real quick. And so this is Ezekiel, in the book of Ezekiel 3, and start at the top. It reads, moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, eat that thou findest, eat this roll, and go speak unto the house of Israel. This roll is the scriptures, is the book, the Holy Bible. So we're supposed to, read the whole book, digest it, and that milk comes along with that, and speak it into the house of Israel, but it's again, as we went into in Hebrews, it's a process, so, but every brother, is going to be balanced. They're going to be able to touch on everything because, we're supposed to eat the whole roll. But there's brothers who are, well versed in certain areas, more than others. And through this process, you find what your niche is, you find what that is for you, and you thrive in it, man, and you take in and run with it. And then it's all a process, man. That's the point. It's all a process, but it starts with your fundamentals, with the milk scriptures. Or should I say the milk of the scriptures. Not just the milk scriptures themselves, but, the milk of the scriptures. So let's go back to Ephesians 4th chapter, and I'll jump down to the 11th verse. And it reads, and he gave some apostles and some prophets and some evangelists and some pastors and some teachers, for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of a Mashiach. So like I said earlier, man, the Most High is setting this up. The Most High is rising up the tabernacle of David, as a body. the body of Mashiach, of Yahushai. So in the human body, you have different parts of the body, different nerves, different bones, different muscles, different functions of different parts of the body. And some functions work harder than others. Some functions do more than others. That's how the body works. But it all comes together, and it's basically a well-oiled machine. It all comes full circle and works together so that the body can function properly. And that's what, this truth is likened to. So for brothers, brothers that come in and try and jump the line and try and be too deep, try and do too much, it's like, it's like your toe, your toe trying to take over for what your leg is doing, your whole leg is doing, And the toe is, it's important, but it's a small part on your foot. So your toe can't handle the responsibility or the function of the whole leg. It wouldn't make sense. You would be walking on one leg. So you got to look at it like that. There's a reason the Lord has you in your position, and I'm going to keep saying that you got to continuously grow. It's about growth and striving to be, for the mastery, striving for the mastery. But that doesn't mean you're just trying to rise up in ranks just cause. If the Spirit has it to where that happens, then, more power to that brother. But that's not what it's about at the end of the day. Because there's brothers who have, in the past, and, you hear the apostles and other elders go into this all the time, that have risen up, to pretty good ranks. They're in the truth for a good amount of time, and they fell out. So at the end of the day, man, that rank didn't mean nothing because they fell out. So you got to look at it like that, man, and understand this is all of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. So just worry about, your office, man. What the Lord has given you, master that and then continue to grow. And pray and have faith, that, you be delivered, man, because that's the key. That's the key, man. And really, I should have mentioned this a little earlier, but the whole thing about this process, this learning process and this truth, it's about experience at the end of the day. That's why the apostles are the apostles, man, is because their experience, they didn't just come into the truth and, automatically become apostles. The Lord set it up to that's who they are now. But these men are very experienced in the truth, man. They've lived it. And that's another thing, Jake doesn't understand. This truth is about, you got to live this truth, man. You have to live this truth to truly understand and to truly grasp, like, real understanding. That's why all these, knowing all the deep breakdowns and everything is good. It's eventually you want to learn all those things, but where the real understanding comes is through experience. That's why the apostles are the apostles. So let's go back to Ephesians. Where are we at? The 13th verse, Ephesians 4:13. Till we all come in the unity of faith and of the knowledge of the Son of the Most High, unto a perfect man. And when is that going to happen? In the kingdom, when the Lord comes back to give the elect new bodies and he makes us perfect. Pursuing 1 Corinthians 15 and the 50th verse. Around the 15th verse. And that's when that's going to happen, where, we're going to be made perfect beings. The law is going to be put in our inward parts. That's that new covenant talked about in Jeremiah 31st chapter. And we're going to be made immortals. But right now, the Lord is building us up to get to that point. So this is a whole process, man. That's why the scriptures say an acceptable man is tried in the furnace of adversity. And to go through that furnace of adversity, it takes time and it takes experience. It's not a quick process. You know, you have to go through things. You got to learn the hard way sometimes. You got to be shown things through the Spirit. You know, this is a process, man. You know, so this is all part of the truth. But where does it start? Back to the point of the lesson, man. It starts with the fundamentals and mastering the foundation. That's why a lot of these guys fall out early. The truth isn't, you know, they find out the truth isn't for them. Ultimately, of course, it's the Lord, you know, taking them out. You know, the Lord was never, well, you know, scripture say many are called, but few are chosen. So, you know, it's the Lord doing that. But those reasons be, you know, because of their foundation is weak. So they didn't really understand what they were getting into from the get-go. Right? So let's continue reading. I'll just start back from the top of this verse. Ephesians 4:13. Till we all come in the unity of faith and of the knowledge of the Son of the Most High, unto a perfect man, unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of a Mashiach. Right, beautiful. So again, that's going to happen when, you know, the Lord comes back to make us. He's going to make us perfect. But we're being built up, you know, and we're set on that path to get to that point, to become that perfect man. You know, and that's going to take a very, you know, long process, because we're in a wicked world, in this wicked flesh, you know, so everything's going to be going against the grain of not only our flesh, but everything around us. Right? So let's go to Revelation. A few more precepts and I'll close it out. The point is basically made, but you know how the Spirit is sometimes. So this is Revelation 33:15. It reads, I know thy works, that thou art neither cold nor hot. I would thou wert cold or hot. So then because thou art lukewarm and neither cold nor hot, I will spew thee out of my mouth. And right. And when does this happen, man? This happens when your foundation is weak. Because here's the thing, the Jake that don't take this truth seriously, man, they got a weak foundation. You know, they don't truly understand what this thing is about. You know, they get the wrong impression because they didn't take the time to build that foundation. Because once you build that foundation, you understand what this thing is about. This thing is about the will of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and about the Lord rising up, you know, his elect to establish a righteous kingdom on the earth, to bring the earth back to a paradise, to what it was meant to be, starting with his chosen people, Yahushua, his only begotten son, first and foremost, King David and his chosen people, the elect of his chosen people, you know, and then the rest of the nation coming back on the other side, living in peace, man, for an eternity, ruling the planet Earth and the universe along with Yahushua. But first comes destruction on this side because of the wickedness, man, and the, you know, the perverseness, and it's just, we know it's madness in this world we live in, but this is the will of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. So, you know, brothers who come into this thing, you know, even sisters, which happens, I think, more often, they get the wrong impression. So when they catch that hell, you know, they go through something that's, you know, that's likened to the furnace of adversity. You know, they feel uncomfortable and I don't like this. So they, you know, they up and leave. But they didn't understand that this was going to happen. You know, and it doesn't, and here's the thing, the experience is still, even if you know, the experience is still going to be the real teacher. So the Lord has to be with you at the end of the day, but you get the point. It's about that foundation, man. That foundation got to be rock solid. That foundation will take you longer ways than really knowing every single breakdown and, you know, knowing, you know, every, you know, trying to be too deep, which those things will come, man. Those things are good to know, but the foundation is really key, man. It's really important. And, you know, what did the apostles say, man? Don't be too deep, be one deep. You know, you don't gotta be the most, you know, Mr. Know-it-all, so to speak. Being in the truth alone, you're already, being in the truth alone, you're already less than a 1% man. You're already a rarity through the Spirit. So you don't have to know you don't have to be the deepest Israelite, man, is the point. All right, so I'm gonna get 2 more precepts and then I'll close it out. I'll just read through these because, the point is plain. So this is Romans 12:3. It reads, "For I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly, according as the Most High have dealt to every man the measure of faith," as we went into earlier. "For as we have many members in one body, and all members have not the same office, so we, being many, are one body in a Mashiach, and every one members one of another, having then gifts differing according to the grace that is given unto us. Whether prophecy, let us prophesy according to the portion of faith." So let me read that again. Verse 6. Having then gifts differing according to the grace that is given to us, whether prophecy, let us prophesy according to the proportion of faith. So, that's plain, man. That's what we kind of broke that down, already. Every man has their own office. We've all been given different portions, so focus on your office, man. You don't have to be the deepest Israelite. Take what the Lord has given you and run with it to the end, man. And endure to the very end. Help in some way, man. Do something. Whether you make garments, whether you post, videos about current events, whether you make lessons, you teach, you're on the highways and byways prophesying, whatever. Do something to help the ministry. This is all one body of a Mashiach. So there you go. Now let's get these Ephesians, and then Lord's will, we'll close out. This is Ephesians 5:15. It says, "See then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is." And that's what it comes down to at the end of the day, man. Understanding the will of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. And our plan or our goal is to receive that salvation from the days that are, upon us, the evil days upon us. And we get that through faith, man. Not through knowing every single breakdown, not through being the deepest Israelite, through faith and being sincere. The Lord is looking for those who truly are about him, who truly love him, and are in complete agreement with his will. Because these are the people who he's setting up right now, who you see on the highways and byways, man, and particularly the men of Great Millstone and the ones teaching the same doctrine. These are the men, the next rulers of the world to come. And who's going to bring in that rulership is Yahweh Shai, man. So hopefully this is edifying. And the point was made, Yahweh Ratazah. So I'm going to close it out. Give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakodash, Shalom, Kwam Yasharala, and Abababo.
The magnificence that the Lord is going to bring us back to, and this is something that we have to envision, because we're going to be brought back to greatness, because our power is going to be set back up and people are going to laud and praise him. His Messiah, Yahweh Shai, is going to be lauded and praised. So the men of the Lord that are lauded and praised are going to have those laws, statutes, and commandments inside of them to be able to reestablish righteousness on the earth, and then the nations will be in awe once again, and even in more awe because of the magnificence, the awe that the Queen of Sheba was in. That's going to pale in comparison to the awe of the kingdom. I'm getting goosebumps right now just thinking about it. The Queen of Sheba she had no life left in her when she saw the splendor of King Solomon's majesty and his kingdom, his servants, how they were arrayed and everything. So just imagine the kingdom of heaven, you know, and these nations are gonna go back to that. They're gonna go back to reverencing us, you know, not looking at us as niggas and spicks and spooks and wetbacks and tontos and all that, but looking at us in our respective state of being an Israelite, no man or woman, you know, of our particular tribe, whether it be Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Ephraim, Simeon, whatever. You know, it's gonna go back to that. It's gonna go back to the majestic lauding of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai and the people of the Most High, which are the Israelites, the so-called Negros, Latinos, the Native American Indians that have been downtrodden, that have been called outcasts, that have been called the forsaken, are gonna get back that power, are gonna get back that vigor, are gonna get back that status of greatness that we had at one time. It says, and it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains. And we're witnessing the beginning of that, of us being established. But this is speaking about in the kingdom. It says, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow into it. So we're going to be exalted above all of the hills, meaning all of these other nations and their governments. Because out of every nation and government on the planet that ever ruled an empire and the great civilizations that ever ruled, that's going to be nothing compared to the kingdom of heaven, compared to the laws, statutes, and commandments in the kingdom of heaven, compared to the majesty of the kingdom. Because it's not just only going to be on the planet Earth, it's going to be in the different planets all over the universe. It says, and all nations shall flow into it. And why are all these nations going to flow into it? Because they are waiting for the manifestation of the sons of the Most High to be established once again on the planet. Because they know that once that happens, things are going to be set back up into the right order. It says, and many people shall go and say, come ye and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the power of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways. Because 144,000, the governing body, will be bringing out the word and the laws, statutes, and commandments. You know, setting up everything into order. This is for that, this is for this is for that, and according to this law, and boom, boom, you know, so on and so forth. So they're going to come to learn, because we're not going to teach each other, because we're going to be perfected. Our stony hearts are going to be taken out. Fleshly heart is going to be put in. Law, statutes, and commandments are going to be put in after these vile bodies are changed. So the nations are going to see that. They're going to see that splendor, and they're going to come to it, and they're going to want to learn. It says, and he will teach us his ways, and we will walk in his paths. So that's what we're going to be teaching them. We're going to be teaching these nations the law, statutes, and commandments through the governing body of the nation of Israel.